Hi, friends. Michelle with the National Veteran Resources. Um, a lot of my followers are recent followers, and I realize that you don't really understand what my mission has been and how I started all this. So I'm just going to try to take a few moments without rambling, hopefully, and share with you why I'm now traveling in a Class A 32-foot RV wrapped with the American flag and portraits of veterans and the logos of our first responders. So I have been a real estate agent and broker in the Rochester, New York area for over 20 years. And I'm born and raised in Rochester. I don't live in Rochester any longer. I moved to Georgia about almost 3 years ago. About 10 years ago, my son Tom was serving on his second deployment to Iraq when I realized I don't realize what he really does for us. And then my younger son, Tyler, left college and went into the Navy. So here I was, worried as a mom. Every time the phone rang, every time somebody came to my door, you can't imagine as a mom, if you've not been through it, to have a child serving in the military, as well as the police departments and the fire departments and the ambulance workers. I mean, what they do for us to protect and serve us is incredible. And I can't imagine at times how they deal with what they deal with. So years ago in Rochester, New York, I started a program called Heroes Home Advantage. And my agents and I was a broker at the time, gave back 25% of our commission, and our loan officers gave back $500 credits. I had home inspectors and roofers and contractors and anybody that I could think of to give back discounts. And then that program went nationwide. So I'm the CEO to Heroes Home Advantage, and I have realtors and loan officers all over the country, along with all the other service providers that give discounts. So about 2.5 years ago, I was in Georgia and I was watching YouTube videos, and I came across this businesswoman that sold everything she had and started traveling the country in an RV. And I thought, man, that's really crazy. I'm not a camper. I'm not anybody that's ever driven an RV or anything. And I went out and bought one. My first RV was a 24-foot RV, and I had graphics for Heroes Home Advantage. And I traveled the country, and my realtors and loan officers and my partners with Heroes Home Advantage started doing events for heroes to thank them for their services. So I was meeting heroes all over the country. I traveled about 30,000 miles. This year, I decided, after going to Camp for Heroes, and I met Captain Woody, and I met some amazing veterans that changed my life. They shared their stories with me. They inspired me. And so I went out and bought a 2009 32-foot RV. I wrapped it, and I applied to become a non-for-profit, and I started traveling the country. Well, for those of you that have been watching me for a while, you saw that I had nothing but issues with that thing, and it was falling apart on me. So last month, in October, I decided to take a leap of faith. I talked to God about it a lot, and I decided to buy a brand new RV. Couldn't afford it. I got a credit card to wrap it again, and I hit the road. Since I hit the road, I have had a lot of problems. If you've been following me in the last month, I broke down in North Carolina. I had a slide out issue in the mountains of North Carolina. I then got all the way to Fort Lauderdale, and I had the same slide out issue. Long story short, many hours on the phone with Thor and Camping World and the slide out company, and I had other issues, a lot of other issues. So Camping World brought me in. They fixed all my issues. I do have to travel back to that Camping World this afternoon to have one more repair done. The part just came in. So this trip has been very, very challenging on me. I had to cancel most of my tour, and So I mentioned to you this morning that I had a dangerous situation happen to me. And for those of you that have been following me for a while, I talk about my safety and I talk about where I have to stay. I can't afford to stay in a whole lot of campgrounds, so I have to stay in a lot of parking lots, Walmart, and truck stops, and some Cracker Barrels, and there's other places out there. So I've been staying at a lot of VFW and American Legions. And 4 nights ago, I was in one of these parking lots, and it was a residential area. It was very, very dark, and I do have a weapon of mass destruction that I carry with me. I had to go outside in the dark and take my dog out, and a guy came out from behind the shadows of his house. I could smell pot. He had a big beer in his hand. He couldn't speak English. He was asking me for money, and he approached me, and I had nowhere to go. So I backed up. I warned him, and I was able to get back in my RV. I called Randy. As you know, Randy is my other half. And I said, I need to get out of here. So I packed everything up. I told the Legion I was leaving. I told them what the issue was. And Randy actually paid for 4 days for me to get into a campground at Thanksgiving because I had nowhere to go. 2 organizations had scheduled for me to come this week. One of them, I was going to be staying in their driveway, and I told her my dangerous situation, and they canceled on me. So I have had to do a lot of soul searching about what it is I'm really doing. I've had to beg some organizations to come and visit them just to share their organizations, and it shouldn't be that way. I'm trying to help with post-traumatic stress and suicide prevention. I called 12 parents that lost their children to suicide on Thanksgiving just to tell them I'm thinking about them. I can't imagine how they feel on the holidays. So as I've been in this campground, all I kept thinking about is, God, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And it finally came to me. I'm a Christian. Look at my logo. This is my logo that I designed. I'm a Christian. And I realized that I'm finding all these amazing resources around the country. But God is the number one resource. And I always say God bless on all my videos. And I pray for all the veterans and first responders that I get to sit with in this RV. And I pray for all the family members that lost their loved ones. But what I realized is I'm not calling them to church. And so when I visited Tom McRae and his family, and his wonderful mother invited me to come to their church for a dinner when I was visiting, they actually asked me to stand up and speak about who I am and what I do. And they stood up and they just applauded me. And they asked me to come back before I take this trip with Tom. I'm tired of staying in parking lots. I'm tired of not meeting my mission. I'm tired. And this is a very costly journey. And I am just trying to help share resources to help save the lives of our military, our veterans, and our first responders. I'm being invited to come to police departments and fire departments to talk to the officers and the firefighters and the ambulance workers. And I'm finding a lot of resources for them. But God is our number one resource. So the last day or so, I am not giving up. I'm still here in Florida, and I'm on tour for another 2 weeks, and I'm reaching out to churches. I'd like to stay in their parking lot. I'm going to reach out to the police departments and the fire departments and all the military organizations. I'm going to ask them to come, and I'm asking churches if you would like to sponsor having me there. If I could plug into electric would be great. I don't have to have water or sewer. I can find a pilot or something to use those facilities. But I would like to, I think I'd feel a lot safer in church parking lots. I think that God is guiding me to say, listen, I'm still going to share every resource out there that I can find. I'm going to interview them. I'm going to share them. I want to meet all the veterans and first responders and active duty military that I can find and share their stories. I'm still going to do all that, but I really would like churches to ask me to come. I'd like organizations to ask me to come. This shouldn't be so hard. I shouldn't have to be in tears yesterday finding out that this female veteran organization told me that they decided that they're too busy and didn't even take into consideration. They said that I could stay in their driveway. And that means that I'm really upset about it. This is me mad. I that and she knows that that means that I've got to go find a parking lot to stay in. I had nowhere to go. And I'm trying to not spend money on campgrounds because for those of you that have donated, that goes towards my gas. I need to buy more brochures and business cards. So I am on a mission to share the Word of God with everybody that I meet. And I think that staying in parking lots where people are drinking, I love these organizations, don't get me wrong, but I run into some situations even in these parking lots. I want you to know that Randy follows me on Google Maps. He knows where I am. He knows I'm safe. A lot of people are saying, where's your man? We have a plan. Hopefully in the next year and a half, he can retire and join me. Until then, I live in Georgia. He lives in New York. My family, my friends, I have them all over the country, but our Rochester, New York, I'm coming home for the summertime. And I try to get home to visit as often as possible. So I'm not alone. I have you guys. I have Randy, my children, my granddaughter. I have God on my side, and I have you guys to help me along the way. And so I just want to tell you that I'm not defeated. I have God, my family, and my friends on my side. And if you would all help me spread the word about where these resources are, spread the word for me, we can all make a difference, don't you think? So with that said, I have to go empty my septic tank and my water and get out of this camping ground before they kick me out. And but I just want to tell you a little bit about what I have experienced, and that I am extremely excited about going to churches and calling our heroes to church. And if you can help me, I'd really, really appreciate it. All right, guys, I want to thank you so much for your love and support. You've been my rock, and I thank you so much. God bless.